It was rough, bro. I had to sit next to my Uncle Kyle, and he kept ranting about which Digimon are overrated. It's Thanksgiving week in the United States of America, and I'm feeling the buzz. I'm ready to be positive about video games, for once. And, as the traditional Thanksgiving pre-feast saying goes, well, if you can't be happy, you should at least be grateful. So let's be grateful. What I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this week's headlines and I'm going to find a part of them that makes me thankful. Let's play Big Thanks. This very week, Shuhei Yoshida, most famously this guy, now the head of the Independent Developer Initiative at Sony Interactive Entertainment, announced that he's retiring from his position at Sony in January of 2025. What this means is that by February 2025, PlayStation will officially be dead to me. I'm hereby announcing my intent to become one of those 40-somethings who buys a Steam Deck and never stops talking about it. Please look forward to my thoughts on how underrated Dave the Diver is. Important to note, Shuhei Yoshida is not retiring. This man is 60 years young. It's not over. I'm not going to sit here praising his entire career when his best work lies ahead of him. From Ape Escape to Journey to Stray, yeah, right, get back to work. Something kind of interesting. Back in 2019, when he had to step down as president of Worldwide Studios to make way for the ascension of Hermen Hulst, I assumed that probably felt bad. However, in the podcast they released today along with the announcement, you really do get the impression that it was a demotion that Shuhei was happy to accept.
So when I got this job, 100%, I can spend time helping indies. It's like a dream job, So for the last 5 years has been super fun.
Shuhei Yoshida is a relic of a time where PlayStation was a likable brand. I'm grateful to have him excised from the now uniformly dark and slime-encrusted Sony Interactive Entertainment. Big thanks to Shuhei Yoshida. There was a rumor reported on this week that because of poor sales of its recent $50 expansion, Chaos Reigns, Mortal Kombat 1 will be wrapping up its DLC plans. No new characters after these. Moving on to the next one. And while just having 2 seasons of DLC characters is not abnormal for Mortal Kombat, it is for fighting games of this era. Most modern fighting games have years and years and years of characters getting added. Just 2 months ago, Ed Boon said he's planning to support Mortal Kombat 1 for a long time to come. It just turns out sometimes plans have to change rapidly. I was thinking about just how earlier this month we were talking about David Zaslav's comments when he announced that WB Games would be moving away from launching 10, 12, 15, 20 different games. Ew. And they would be primarily focusing on 4 key franchises: Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, and DC, in particular Batman. That was just a few weeks ago, right? I thought at the time we're talking about continuing support of Mortal Kombat 1. No, it turns out probably he was already thinking about the next one to come after that. But we remember, it's just 4 things they're doing now. Only one of those franchises is a video game franchise. The rest are, transmedia powerhouses. Books become films, become video games. But remember, it's Thanksgiving. When you see a commercial for a mobile service that for some reason nails the look and vibe of NFL Blitz, and they even get the announcer,
and he's got unlimited room to run thanks to unlimited data. Ring-a-ding-ding!
And it's like a tease for a game you can't have, you could choose to let that make you sad. Or you could say, pretty cool commercial. In the same way, you could look on the bright side here. You could say, wow, David Zaslav believes in one video game franchise. Mortal Kombat will survive. Big thanks to Mortal Kombat. I gotta walk back something I said last week. I said there was no reason to play Donkey Kong Land, the Game Boy game. Why would you when Donkey Kong Country is just a few flicks of the analog stick down the road? Why would you waste your time with this when you could just ingurgitate this? Big thanks to thesaurus.com. Anyway, I read some comments that said, Kyle, bad take. Diddy Kong Land is a good game. And while obviously those comments are totally wrong, they do have a point. Just because a game is inferior does not mean it is useless. And I think it's kind of cool that Donkey Kong Land just appeared on a Thursday without any sort of tease ahead of time. And then just a few days after that, Donkey Kong Land 2 was also announced and released for seemingly no reason. And then a few days after that, Vector Man, Toe Jam and Earl in Panic of Funkotron, and Wolf of the Battlefield Mercs added to Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. Bet you didn't see that coming. When a service asks me to give it a monthly fee for access to hundreds of games, it makes me sick. I don't want 100 ice cream sandwiches. I don't want 100 dates at the mall. I don't want 100 video games. It's too much. When you just kind of dole these out without any warning or natural pattern, it makes each small release special in a weird way. It gives each of these maybe unpopular games a chance to be a star for a day. A chance to be played, you know? A chance for somebody to play them again. And I think that's beautiful. Big thanks to sporadic backlog releases. And that's delayed input for this week. Now, something that's important. I'm going to stay on script here at the end. For the past 2 weeks running, I've made some sort of foolishly inaccurate error here in the final seconds before sign-off. I understand now that while Over the River and Through the Woods and Jingle Bells are both originally Thanksgiving songs, they are in fact 2 different songs. Who knew? Kyle puts his hand on his cheek apologetically. Sorry. I'll be back next week. Thanks for watching. One of modern gaming's strangest plot lines is, of course, the jumping food strain of games. You know, the Dog K, Beveron, Comp Jump. Those games where the entire appeal is that you will receive a platinum trophy for little to no effort. Last time we checked in, most of them had been squashed by its new policy from Sony. As a service to my dear audience, I played the Jumping Food Memory for 23 minutes and only acquired 32% of the trophies. The magic was simply over. And it turns out that was the last Jumping Food game of 2023. In 2024, Jumping Food games have made a massive comeback. Their developer, Thea Games, has figured out new and innovative ways to fly under Sony's definition of what is spam and repetitive content. This developer, Thea Games, seems to be almost admirably pushing this challenge of what is the least we can do without getting in trouble. In February, we saw the release of the Jumping Alphabet Soup, a puzzle game packed with gameplay. Can you figure this one out? How about this one? And at that point, it seemed like the Jumping franchise had fully run its course. In June 28th, 2024, a burger in space was released by Thea Games. Looks like a Lunar Lander-like, where you just pilot a cheeseburger. This level, frankly, looks impossible. What's funny is they say from the talented developers at Jumping Food Games, meaning the brand isn't dead. So imagine my shock and surprise when the Jumping Donut appeared on the PlayStation Store on August 23rd. One would think, hold on, they can't do that anymore. However, upon closer inspection, it would appear they've added some sort of rudimentary platforming element to the game. And that is not just a donut. How dare you? Look at this. Unforgettable character. Play as the juicy donut Big D, who masters every challenge with his jumping power and charm. And yeah, in Burger in Space, you take on the role of Big B, So I thought maybe that was a new trick for some reason to circumvent the new policy that Sony has. So I looked back at the jumping nuggets, for which I do have the platinum trophy, by the way. And the synopsis implies that the name of the collective trio of nuggets is Big N. How could anyone accuse them of copying and pasting when each of them star their own unique character? Like the iconic Juicy Big D. Then, in September 13th of 2024, the Jumping Ice Cube was released on the PlayStation Store. Gotcha. We got you. You're copying and pasting. You're busted. And they said, look at this. I'm not even honestly sure what mechanics are at play here, but it's definitely not the same as Jumping Donut. There's no rules in Sony's rulebook against this. Strangely enough, the Jumping Ice Cube seemingly has no name. So I guess they just dropped that. And then last month, we saw the release of the Jumping Burger Rush. Look at this. Can't tell me that's not gameplay. Really though, imagine having the tenacity to release this product. Fee Games, who do you think you are? Alright, I have to apologize to you. I finished recording the episode, and it didn't sit right with me that I actually don't know how the Jumping Ice Cube works. Okay, I get the impression that you have to get from one glass to the other glass, but I don't know what the actual game is. So here's the thing. I'm going to download it. I'm going to play it. We'll figure it out real quick. Here's the thing. I just want to figure it out and we'll go. I'm not going for the platinum trophy in this. I just want to know how you play the Jumping Ice Cube. Fancy a little cooling off. Let's do it. In and out. In and out. All right, this is actually, okay, and here's what you don't know. It actually, the controller makes a noise. And here's the other thing is like, I actually, I kind of like this. There's something that appears in the lower right-hand corner. I can't tell what it is. And oh, hey, we're still in? I can't tell what it is. I'll check the edit. So fast now. There you go, there you go. Okay. Okay. Uh-huh. Arctic ice, bro. Oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. Please grab it, please grab it. Damn. I'm a man of my word. No, I'll delete it, I'll delete it. I'll delete it. Okay. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It's Thanksgiving. I have to say, to Fee Games, they are improving dramatically. Where the games, it used to just be you could hold down the X button and get a platinum trophy. Now they seem to have some grasp of game design. They're growing. Who's to say where the jumping food games could be in 1 year? Big thanks to Fee Games.